It is past 1 a.m., but that did not stop the Mets from giving me a sudden heart attack like many of you diehard fans that stayed up, especially on the East Coast. No less, it took an extra inning, but the Mets somehow, some way were able to leg out a victory. No pun intended, literally, with Starling Marte. But how's it going, everybody? Thank you all so much for chiming in for the latest post-game coverage here on WardyNYM. After another Mets victory, this time means 6-5 in extras over the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Mets, of course, blew 4 runs, but were able to get them back and thankfully get the win. And I know we're all exhausted right now, so for everyone here in the live stream, trust me when I say I really appreciate every single one of you. I know that we're all in different time zones. I get that, but still, I appreciate the support. So make sure to smash that like and subscribe button, folks. As you're just chiming in either live or on replay, I'll be addressing all your comments, questions, and concerns after I break down and analyze and quickly recap what just transpired in this 6-5 victory over the Mets, which was a whirlwind of a game, a lot of highs, a lot of lows, really a roller coaster like a normal reliever's ERA. And that would hold true when talking about the bullpen, in which it was the problem tonight, even though I will give some benefits of the doubt when we get to Trevor May in particular. But no less, again, appreciate everyone being here. For my viewers on replay as well, which I know will be a large majority of you waking up after a Mets victory, want to find out the highlights, what transpired. Well, I hope that I can do my best to break that down for you now. But again, help us get to 100 likes for the first short-term goal. And I'm going to start addressing some donations here, folks, before we get into anything else. But I want to know from everyone in the chat right now, to my 200-plus live viewers, guys, how are you feeling after this Mets victory? I want to know what your raw emotion is, especially if you went through the emotions of watching this game live the way that I did. I want to know how you're feeling. And of course, for people on replay, same thing applies. Let me know in the comments below how you feel after the 6-5 victory. LSD, thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate that. I swear the D-backs play the Mets all the time. Nope, not at all, actually. The Mets only played the D-backs 2 series ago, because that's just how the schedules line up. But yeah, the Mets have played them a little bit of recent to start the year, obviously. Thankfully, they've won more than they've lost. They've won 3 of the first 4 games they played the D-backs this season. But no less, Compton, thank you so much for the $2 donation. I appreciate that a lot, buddy, especially this late at night. Again, really, really do. Shout out all my members here in the chat right now. Mr. Delight. Let's see, a bunch of others that I'm trying to come across right now. Thank you all so much. Christopher with a $2 donation. Thank you so much for that. Why do we have faith in Diaz? Still shaking my head. We still have faith in Diaz. Trust me, Diaz is going to be fine. Yes, I know it sucked to see what transpired in the 9th. Now, I'll break that down here shortly, but it's okay. Diaz is still a very good pitcher. Unfortunately, these things are going to happen every now and then. Thankfully, again, it did not hurt the Mets too much, and they were able to get the victory. No less, Chris, thank you so much for that $2 donation. I really appreciate that. Dave, great subscriber and friend on the channel. Thank you so much for the donation. Deja vu, right? Speaking of Edwin Diaz, yeah, he's driving me crazy. Look, don't get me wrong. The pitch that Diaz threw to give up that home run in the 9th was not a good one. Like I said, I'll be breaking that all down here shortly. Dave, thank you so much for the donation. Shout out to all you guys just chiming in again here live or on replay. Appreciate everyone's support. You feel relieved. I'm seeing a lot of that. I know a lot of people want to get some shut-eyes, so I'm going to try my best not to be too on. So I'm just salty. Mets are too good right now. Braves are good too. Don't worry. I'm excited for those matchups, and thank you so much again for the donation. If you guys don't know, LC is a great supporter on the channel, but of course, he's also a Braves fan, so there's positives and negatives with him. But all jokes aside, thank you so much for that donation. All right, guys, I got to rant. I got to talk about this damn game because, like I said, this was a whirlwind. Okay, as we all witnessed, as most of you did, how did this game transpire, right? We got Zach Gallen on the bump for the Arizona Diamondbacks, who pitched 4 scoreless innings against the Mets just a couple days ago at Citi Field versus a David Pearson who pitched really well in his first start against the D-backs, his first official start of the year after pitching 4 scoreless innings in relief of Taijuan Walker after his injury in Philly a couple series ago. David Pearson, he comes out, and he was an absolute stud once again, and you could even make the argument that David should have been in the game longer, but in essence, I understood why Buck didn't necessarily want to push him too much. All it takes is one bad swing, and the D-backs are back in this game. Unfortunately, for us fans' sake, that ended up still holding true in this one, far more than it should have. But the Mets head into this game against Zach Gallen. They were not swinging or hitting anything early in this one. Gallen, who is on a pitch count, dealing with some finger issues, I believe, to start the season, was on a pitch count in the first game against the Mets, and that held true again today because he pitched five one-run innings against the New York Mets. Mets only got 1 run off of him, only 2 hits. He had 7 strikeouts on just around 80 pitches over 5. So strong outing from Zach Gallen. The Mets were not able to hit a fastball right down the pipe. Every hitter tonight, pardon my French, through the first couple innings was looking like JD Davis. They were taking fastballs right down the dick, and they were also swinging right through 95 heaters right down the pipe too. It was frustrating. I know Zach Gallen is a very good up-and-coming pitcher, but it was still annoying to see the Mets swing and miss the way that they were early in this one. And if you look at how the Mets lineup was to start this game, you had Brendan Nimmo, Starling Marte, Francisco Lindor, Alonso, Eduardo Escobar, Robinson Cano at DH, which was not fun. He did have a base knock in the ninth inning. Not that it meant too much. He did not have a good day at the plate, though. Cano colored me surprised. Mark Canha, Jeff McNeil, James McCann. Speaking of James McCann, we'll get to him shortly. But yeah, so Arizona got off to the early lead that we saw there in the third inning. But thankfully, the Mets were able to start attack on runs right after that. In the fourth inning, in the top of the fourth, the Mets got their first run this game thanks to Pete Alonso. And it was, I believe that was Pete Alonso, a silly kind of like sac fly that, not sac fly, a bloop single, RBI single that dropped. It was so bizarre. Alonso had the most bizarre game and was still one of the most important players for the Mets tonight. Because one, as you guys see in the highlights right now, he had a ridiculous snag down the first baseline that normally you wouldn't expect Pete to make. He made it. But the funniest part about that was that he wouldn't be the only first baseman to make that exact stop to toss it back to first. Christian Walker, who ended up being a nemesis for the Mets in this game, especially against Edwin Diaz, he had that same exact type of snag later in the game to get Starling Marte at first, which was so bizarre how both first basemen had that same exact play, because you don't see it often, let alone twice in one game. I do see some donations in the chat too, guys. I'll be addressing them soon. Don't you guys worry. Again, shout out all you guys here in the live stream. I'm breaking down everything that there is to know about this Mets 6-5 victory. So for people on live, thank you so much for being here. We're trying to get to 200 to 300 plus likes by the end of the show. Always appreciate in the live stream. For viewers on replay, make sure to smash those buttons. Let me know how you're feeling after this 6-5 win. But heading back into what I was breaking down for the Mets again, they got the run scored there, and then we got ourselves to the sixth inning, and that is where the Mets were finally able to start breaking out, which was great to see. They tacked on a couple more runs in this one, and as you can see, Pete Alonso again had himself, let's talk about Pete Alonso, had himself a bloop single for an RBI today, also had himself one of the softest groundouts for an RBI that you will ever see. Pete Alonso, who is known for having one of the highest exit velos in all baseball. I think he's currently the 97th percentile, because we know Pete, when he's making contact, he's making so much exit velo, easily 100 plus miles per hour, like it's nothing, even on line drive outs all the time. But Pete had himself a 32 mile per hour opposite field dribbler down right around the first base area to bring in a run for the Mets, which was so hilarious in that sixth inning. Again, the Mets tacked on a couple runs in the sixth, and then we got to the seventh. And what happened in the seventh? James McCann is what happened in the seventh inning. James McCann, my goodness gracious, a man who we were critiquing big time just yesterday and have throughout the start of the season, a man who has not swung the bat well at all. Buck Showalter, however, emphasized heading into tonight's game that he was close to really getting his swing back and being more comfortable. James McCann takes the Arizona Diamondbacks deep for a 2-run bomb, a massive bomb to left field. And that gave the Mets at that time a 5-1 lead after David Pearson's day was done. Because as we saw David Pearson, and I'll be breaking down his further numbers on his arsenal here shortly, but what a tremendous performance from David Pearson. Again, worked the fastball and the slider beautifully. 5.2 innings pitched, only gave up 1 earned run, 3 hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts on 65 pitches. Again, you could definitely make the argument he should have been in there longer. Maybe that would have helped the Mets in this one. Either way, though, huge shout out to David Pearson. He has been such a breath of fresh air for how he's adjusted his arsenal a little bit. And now he really becomes a good problem for the Mets as Taijuan Walker is set to hit this rotation back in the St. Louis Cardinals series starting this Monday. Should Walker return, what are you going to do with David Pearson then? Are you going to continue with him as a long reliever? Or are you going to set him down in AAA because you want him as a starter getting a good amount of innings? It's a good problem to have with David Pearson, but all credit in the world to him and what he has been able to do for the Mets when they have needed him most, given Taijuan Walker's injury to start the season. But getting back now to how everything transpired further in this game. Again, the Arizona Diamondbacks were able to tack on a run in the bottom of the 7th, and that unfortunately was because of Drew Smith got the final out for David Pearson in the 6th. But then as we got to Chase and Shreve, unfortunately gave up a sac fly, 0.2 innings pitched there in the 7th inning, and gave up 2 hits. But Shreve has been really solid for the Mets. Really one of the best southpaw relievers to start the season out of all teams in the MLB, but unfortunately give up that sac fly. And then Trevor May came in, and Trevor May had the worst luck known to man tonight. Now, I don't know about you guys, and like I said, I know we got donations in the chat. I will be addressing them all as soon as I can once I'm done breaking down this game. But as we saw, Trevor May, do you guys remember when Trevor May was pitching against the Arizona Diamondbacks and the series finale last season? Remember that? And Trevor May gave up what was like right down the line of it was a double and an RBI, and that won the game for the D-backs. I think they walked it off, I'm not mistaken. But Trevor May was sick that game that I saw him speak on after. And today, May, of course, dealing with his little tightness that he had with his forearm to start the season, that Philly game, came back in today for the Mets and did give up a bomb to tie the game, unfortunately, to Christian Walker. And I think what the most frustrating part about that was for Christian Walker to get that home run there in the bottom of the eighth was the fact that if you look at the times batting average, the expected batting average, that had an expected batting average of 120. So by no means was a bad placement by Trevor May. And it was just a beautiful swing by Christian Walker that, unfortunately for the Mets, got enough air, looked like a juiced ball type situation, and that just got out of the park to left field. It was giving me Jacob Stallings grand slam PTSD because I was in the front row right in front of the Mets dugout, first row in Pittsburgh, when Diaz gave up that, of course, grand slam to Stallings last season. But I digress. Speaking of Diaz and home runs given up, that held true there. And I'm sorry, maybe it wasn't Christian Walker that hit that home run in the eighth. It was someone, because obviously maybe Christian Walker was the one that hit in the ninth. I'm getting them confused. Again, it's 1:30 a.m. You guys know the drill. I'm all over the place. Sounds like a day that ends in Y. However, we get into the ninth inning. Edwin Diaz is looking great, gets a nice dribbler for an out, then gets a nice strikeout, needs one more out, and he gives up an absolute bomb. Dead center. Not dead center. The pitch was dead center, but that went deep to right field, and that tied the game in the ninth. Of course, in Arizona, when everyone's staying up for this game. But what was frustrating about that pitch, and again, this is where I will harp on Diaz. Diaz has looked great to start the season for the most part. That was just a bad pitch. Simply put, it was a bad pitch. Unfortunate situation. Diaz threw a slider right down the middle. It was beautifully placed for anyone to square up and take that deep. So expected batting average on that one was like over 400. So it would have been honestly foolish for that not to have gone deep the way it did. So unfortunate pitch by Diaz, unfortunate for the Mets. But thankfully, as they went into the 10th inning, just when you thought, oh my goodness, so the Mets not going to be able to score with a guy in second with no outs to start things off, they were able to, as you guys have seen from the highlights here in the postgame show. Yes, Starling Marte does what he does. He's a speed demon. He's fast as F, boy. That is how I view Starling Marte, is the same way that Seth Rogen viewed McLovin in Superbad. Or no, it wasn't McLovin. It was the other guy. I'm blanking on his name. You know who I'm talking about, though. Where he's sprinting, of course. If you guys know the scene when they got caught drinking, he's sprinting away, and you just see Seth Rogen. He's fat. He's so fast. He's speed demon, all that stuff. That is what Starling Marte was, as what originally looked like a ground out to end the inning for the D-backs to have a chance to win it in the bottom of the 10th. No, you see the highlight, the replay here. Starling Marte, even though it was a beautiful throw by the third baseman for the D-backs, just got enough of that cleat on first base to give the Mets the lead at that point and keep them on. Francisco Lindor will follow suit by getting himself an opposite field single, his first hit and only hit of the day. Then Dom Smith would get the final out. And then we head, of course, to the bottom of the 10th. And what happens? Seth Lugo, that's what happens. And Seth Lugo did a tremendous job working that curveball today. That was probably the best we have seen yet of Seth Lugo this season. And for all the gripes with this bullpen, and Mets bullpen that did not concede a run for 18 straight innings until that was Chasen Shreve doing the work there on the sac fly, and then Trevor May, unfortunately, with the unluckiest home run given up. But Seth Lugo comes in, works the curveball beautifully, gets the save for the Mets, and they win this one 6-5. So before I start addressing your donations and your comments and concerns, guys, again, I really want to thank everyone so much for being here. We got over 300 viewers, guys. I know that not everyone watching is on the East Coast right now, but I'm impressed. You guys are absolute beauties. Appreciate everyone being here, as we're, 1:30 a.m. now at this point. But I did want to break down for a second before I answer your donations and all that fun stuff, breaking down David Pearson's arsenal again tonight. Because like I said, he pitched damn well for the Mets, cannot be underestimated. And like I said, the Mets now have a good problem to have with how they should properly evaluate their rotation and their pitching depth. Who would have thought that David Pearson and Tyler McGill and Cookie Carrasco would have the type of impacts that they have had on this rotation through the first couple weeks of the season? I would have been the last schmuck to expect something to this to this degree. So shout out to all of them. But David today worked his nice 5-pitch arsenal. 38% of his arsenal was with that four-seam fastball. Topped out at 96. Minimum was 92 on the velo. The average was 94. Loved what I saw from Pearson with the fastball and setting guys up with the fastball and the slider and that beautiful changeup at times too. But the slider at 28% of his arsenal. 86 is where he topped out. 82 was the minimum. 84 was the average on the velo. Changeup, 20 percentile. 20% of his arsenal. 87 where he topped out. 84 was the minimum. 86 the average. Sinker, 9%. He only threw it 6 times a night. 94 topped out. 92 minimum. 93 average. And the curveball only threw 3 times for 5% of his arsenal a night. 81 miles per hour where he topped out. 76 the minimum. And 78 the average overall. Fantastic performance. Another strong outing by the Mets southpaw that gives them better depth in their rotation than what they would have previously had, with uncertainties on how these guys are going to perform. And now let's start to get in all your comments, questions, and concerns. So for my people on replay, which is none of you guys, this is where I'll be cutting things up. I hope you guys enjoyed this recap. And again, let me know your thoughts and comments below. For people live, I'm going to answer all your donations, all your comments, all your questions. We'll be doing this between 40 minutes to an hour for people live right now. It's late at night, but I had coffee right before the game started, so I'm still a little wired. We're going. I'm always feeling good after a Mets win. So for people on replay, make sure to smash that like and subscribe on. Mets win 6-5. Let me know your thoughts. And as always, let's go Mets, baby.